Sunday night. No, we are. Welcome to the Game One post game show. Your host of Sports Moose here with the Thunderdome Puckcast, coming at you live right after game number 1, 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs. No more bubble this year. We're playing in home stadiums. Of course, both starting off on the road against our favorite foe, the Florida Panthers. First time in 28 years of franchise existence that we've played the Panthers in the playoffs, in a playoff series. Absolutely crazy. We've been in the same division, I think, all along, and we've never played each other in the playoffs. So incredible that it's finally happening. And we've already seen some of the bad blood between those teams that saw the last 2 games of the regular season, and what we anticipated to be high flying series definitely started out that way. Of course, Lightning coming out on top 5-4, maybe a little bit more scoring than we thought. 5-4 in favor of the Bolts. Late game winner, Kuch Point. Huge goal. About a minute and a half to go to put the Bolts ahead 5-4. Of course, 2 goals for Point in the game, as well as the return of the Kuch. Nikita Kucherov is back, and it looks like he hasn't even missed a beat. You know, we talked about it earlier today on the Thunderdome Puckcast, a preview show earlier this afternoon. You know, a lot of assumptions being made, especially about Kucherov. Guy hasn't played for 6 months, had surgery, but we're going to have MVP Kucherov, right? Game 1. That's actually what happened. We had MVP style Kucherov on the team. So big time addition at the playoff beginning for the Lightning to the roster. As we do, if you were with us last year, of course, we did the post game shows. We'll go through some stats, talk about high points, low points, and then, of course, get us ready for game number 2, just 2 days away. We're going every other night in the NHL playoffs here for most series. Lightning play again Tuesday night in Sunrise, Florida, against the Panthers. So exciting. So exciting. Of course, feel free to join us on chat. We've got the social channels going. Got at Twitter, at Sportsmoose Show. That's our Twitter handle, at Sportsmoose Show. Because someone's sitting on the Sportsmoose who doesn't use it. You know who that is. Let us know. We'll buy it off of you. And then, of course, our other media, social media channels. You've got going live right now on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook at the Sportsmoose. And you can find us on Instagram, too, as we get going to some of the sporting events. Once we can get into sporting events again soon, we'll be on Instagram highlighting those. Make sure you're following us on our social media platforms. All right. Let's hop over to some of the statistics. Some of our statistics. And, of course, our friends over at Natural Stat Trick. Always one of my favorite places to check out stats. Got a whole lot here. And I wanted to look at everything all inclusive, because we like looking at action 5-on-5 or even strength. Break down on power play 5-on-4 or whatnot. But I'm going to look at it at all because there was so much 4-on-4 action. I mean, it was absolutely insane how much 4-on-4 action there was this game. I think 4 or 5 sets of matching minors or coincidental minors that resulted in 4-on-4 play. So definitely a lot of ice to cover there today. And I think some of the reason for a 5-4 victory, everything was so wide open. Even when we were skating 5 skaters aside, there's a lot more room on the ice than there normally is. Sweet Lou. Oh, thanks for the comment, Lou. Yes, going live here. He's commenting on YouTube. Appreciate you, Lou. Big Bolts victory. I know Lou's a big Bolts fan as well. We appreciate you seeing us on YouTube, Lou. So, breakdown of the stats here. I think what was really interesting and how evenly matched these teams are. is when you're looking at the Corsi, which is what you look at. They found a scientific way to measure how well you play or your puck possession and quality of play. Look at this 50-50 on the Corsi for and against percentage. Obviously, Panthers a little bit strong in the first period, like we expected and what we saw, what we discussed on Twitter. Uh, Lightning, of course, handily taking over the second period, huge second for the Bolts, then fairly even, kind of shifting a little bit to the Panthers. The third period, as they took the lead, we took the lead in the third period. So face-offs again, basically even, 48-46 in favor of the Panthers. 51-49% there, and then shots for and against. I think it ended up being 40-39 officially on shots. Yeah, 39. I think it was 40. Again, scoring chances for the Panthers, 29-26 in favor. So Colts a little bit behind. High danger scoring chances, kind of from the slot and common scoring areas, 11-9. So again, very, very even. When you're looking at expected goals for 3.1 to 248. So Vasi again having a pretty strong game. He made some huge saves, and Bobrovsky as well. Kind of a shame to see someone actually having to lose this game. It was a fun game to watch. This is what you tune in for. This is exactly what you tune in for. Kind of some slower games earlier today. Saw smidgens of the Vegas and Minnesota game. Ended up being a 1-0 victory for the Wild in overtime. Definitely not like this game. Let's look at the game flow chart. Of course, this is 5-on-5 situations. Really could feel that ice tilt, at least on 5-on-5. And we like looking at all situations because you see Panthers, Lightning shorthanded goal here. Here's the Panthers power play goal. Momentum shifting, Lightning holding some of the advantage here, but then heavy shift here towards the end of the first, shifting it back in favor of the Lightning. Second, 2 goals, then fairly even play in the third, with momentum ending with the Lightning. Of course, a little bit of a flurry here for the Panthers. End of the game. And of course, my favorite, the heat map. Had made mention, if you tuned in, we're going to try our best to do some third period streams this playoff season. So make sure you're joining us and following us on our usual social media channels. But we had made mention kind of through 2 periods, we had noticed some of the heat map pretty light here. It's like maybe a splotch of blue, but most of the Lightning's shot action, at least coming from the periphery, a little bit here. Area here. Panthers were fairly heavy here and actually ended up being pushed out in the third period. So some of these colors actually going down and are becoming lighter, moving towards. After 2 periods, it was actually pretty heavy, giving up a lot of. There are at least a lot of scoring chances here in the. And great to see. Didn't realize the Bolts actually were 3-on-4, 3 out of 4 on the power play. So again, talked about how that's a huge key to victory, with the Lightning holding advantages in all aspects of special teams. I think they're ahead of the Panthers, both in power play and penalty kill. 1 for 3 on the power play for the Panthers tonight. Again, 52-48 on the faceoff percentage. Oh, that's weird. Kind of differing here. I wonder if needed a good refresh to get the right situation. Still showing 39-39. Maybe they'll need to update their data, but 52-48 actually face-offs for the Bolts. Early minutes, 34, not quite the 134 that we had a couple nights ago. Pretty surprised. The hits category, Lightning lagging most of the game. Panthers, I think, were up at like 23-9 after the first period. So Bolts run there in the last 2 periods. Definitely a few blocked shots. And you're not surprised. Hedman, your ice time leader, about 25 minutes on offense. Kucherov was out there for 1921, but actually Kaloran out second most minutes. Found really, and of course Kucherov, Stamkos, point leading our play time. That's 897 on the save percentage, 32. Pretty solid night for him in net. It's hard to really put a finger on who was the difference here. I mean, it really is, because the game was just absolutely just a gong show. It was crazy. It was back and forth, and with eventually think that it's going to let up eventually, right? Eventually, it's like, all right, we had a period and a half of this back and forth. We're going to start playing conservative, and actually, that's what I thought would happen once we got to 4-4. I'm like, oh, here we go, 4-4. Both teams are maybe going to pack it up. No, they both went for the jugular, and hats off to the Panthers. They could have packed it up. They think the Bolts, like, all right, we're going to go to overtime, and we're happy to go overtime, and let's see what happens. Let's let the fate of a bad bounce in overtime decide who's going to win game one. No, they both went after it, and it was a theme of the game. It was a theme of the game to go for the W. And that's exactly what happened with the Bolts. Opportunity with a minute and a half to go. Braden Point gets one past Bobrovsky for the big 5-4 victory. That's in a nutshell. A pretty, some sloppy play in the third. I mean, we were chomping on fingernails. I don't even want to know the number of turnovers. We were pointing it out on the stream. It was just turnover after turnover for a point, and just relentless pressure early on in the third period by the Panthers. Preston took the lead, and Bolts really had to claw back, fight tooth and nail to get back into the game. So, hats off again to the Bolts for a great effort. But like Bobrovsky said in the post-game interview, if you're the Panthers, this is a game you have to put behind you. I mean, a winnable game, sure, but I think this was a toss-up, and it's exactly what the game one stats suggest. These teams are very evenly matched, play a similar style, and have similar firepower. Though I'd argue that now with the return of apparently a Kucherov with no rust and a Stamkos that looks like he's getting ready to a little bit of rust, but working towards being semi-dominant again, along with maybe some gelling happening with a few of the team members that have been out. Getting Johnson to that. I love the look of Johnson on the fourth line. I know it's been a point of contention over this year. What do we do? Do we push him down to the line? Is that going to shake his confidence? At this point, now we made it to the playoffs. It is pedal to the metal. Can't worry about feelings being hurt. I kind of liked what I saw from the fourth line. I mean, Joseph Johnson and Maroon, I think, played okay. Talked about on the stream how I think we really missed Seti Paquette a little bit. A little bit different. I mean, no disrespect to Matthew Joseph at all. I hate seeing him on the fourth line because I think he's a third or second liner potentially, especially with how well he played at points in this year. But now we need him on the fourth line, and we need him to grind it out. And if we can get some scoring from the fourth line, Lightning are going to be that much better for it. That's really all we have for the post-game show. Again, a big Lightning victory. Absolutely crazy game, entertaining game. A great way to end Sunday here as we get through mid-May. It's great. Things are looking good. It's going to be a great summer. It's going to be a great summer of hockey. Hopefully the Bolts can bust through and Panthers in the upcoming 2 weeks. Don't want to start talking about Carolina yet. Got to get through the Panthers first, but I think we're going to have a different conversation once we're looking at Carolina, especially if the Hurricanes continue to get great goaltending from Nedeljkovic, who's been an absolute rock star since being pulled up from the minors. Looks like he's going to be the guy in net, and that was really the only vulnerability that the Carolina Hurricanes had when we talked about him earlier this season. Is really we're going to go with Peter Mazarek and James Reimer in goal. That's the solution. I think they really hit the lottery with one of their minor league guys ready to come up and take the helm in goal. But we'll talk about that down the road, hopefully, after the Bolts beat the Panthers. Still calling this to be a pretty amazing 7-game series. Hopefully people are still standing after some of the physicality today. I can't imagine going through that another 6 times and having enough gas to then play one of the best teams in the league in the Carolina Hurricanes, provided they pull it off against Nashville, because Nashville's been playing pretty well this year, as of late, at least here at the end of the year. So that is it for the Thunderdome Puckcast post-game show. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, again, at SportsMoose Show on Twitter, and follow us on our pages at the SportsMoose. You can just search for us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is a great way to interact with us, along with YouTube and Twitch when we go live. And we'll post segment videos as well up to YouTube and Facebook. Probably do kind of a Game 2 preview maybe, and a couple other things as they pop up during the series. Some concern points. Right now, really, the only concern, the point of contention or concern, is some of the sloppy play and turnovers. Really no one I want to call out yet. So I'm kind of looking at Savard. Still, some dicey play, slow play. I mean, he's paired on the third defensive pairing right now. We might have to have a video of, is Savard a bust at this point? But let's not rain on our happy parade today. Bolts win 5-4, game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs in the first round. We'll see you next time here with the Thunderdome Puckcast. Take care.